one last video about consequences. I've been posting a lot of videos on classroom management, nurtured heart, and a lot of videos on consequences. And there's probably a dozen more that I could post, but I wanted to talk about the 6 areas of consequences that I use in my classroom. These are used for different levels of behavior. These are the ones that I use most often, and I'm going to share them with you now. So the first one is ignore. And this is, of course, when the behavior is minor enough where it's not going to be hurting somebody, the student is not hurting themselves, and it's not completely disrupting the entire class where learning cannot still happen. And as far as parenting, there are certain behaviors that we can learn and grow to ignore because, again, nobody's going to be hurt. It is not completely disrupting or disturbing whatever activity you're doing or the people around you. So that is usually the most common consequence, is just to ignore. Another consequence is a visual cue. And so for visual cues, for me, it can be as simple as something like this, so that they know, I'm watching you, let's get it together. One that I use all the time that my class knows is this. And this just means pull it together, get it together, find your calm, find your self-control, and you can come up with whatever visual cues work for you. These are done without any verbal cue. It is done just a quick way to grab that kid's attention and let them know that they need to pull it together and start making better choices. Another one that I use is called removing the problem item. And this goes along with logical consequences. If the student is having problems or a child is having problems with a certain object or item, students are arguing or fighting over it, you remove it. I, in the past, had a very strong group of boys, a lot of alpha males in there, and they had a really hard time playing soccer. They got really competitive. They were always very aggressive. So what happened? Soccer ball gets removed. And so that's another consequence that I will use in the classroom when there's an actual object or item that is causing the student or the child to not make the greatest of choices. Another one that I use is reset. Reset is actually a part of the nurtured heart approach, and I myself model resetting all the time when I need to stop before I react. I will take a deep breath and I actually verbalize to the kids what I'm doing. I tell them that I am resetting. I'm finding my calm. I actually have a place in my classroom and it is marked with a carpet and it says the reset zone. And sometimes I will just have a child go back there if they need to find a space where they can work quietly. It is not meant to be a negative thing. I think it's a great tool to teach kids because we want to stop and think before we react. And so I use this reset cue whenever I need the kids to, again, gain their self-control. I will often tell the whole class, and when we are coming in from recess, let's reset, leave recess outside, leave recess in the gym, and let's reset and get ready for the next part of our day. Another popular one that many of us use is verbal redirection, and this is what I had mentioned in my previous video of just giving a quick, non-energized verbal prompt of what I need that child to be doing. And so you're just redirecting them by saying something brief, saying something just a few words, just to get them back on track. And then the most severe of consequences is for the most severe behaviors, and that is to remove from the room. So when you have a student that is disrupting everybody, violent, hurting others, or the potential of hurting others or themselves, or they have just been so disruptive throughout the day and none of your consequences are working, sometimes we do have to resort to pulling in other support, other adults, and we may have to remove them from the room. We may have to send them to the office. So that is one that I typically try not to use unless, of course, I have to. So the 6 areas of consequences, just one more time, that I use in my classroom and I've also used with my own children are: first, ignore, give a visual cue, give some verbal redirection, ask the child to reset after modeling what that looks like, remove the problem item, or in the most severe of cases, removed from the room. So I hope this helps explain the consequences a little bit better. I hope it answers this question. And if you guys have any more questions, feel free to send me a message or post in the comments.